This is insanity. The Clippers have actually eliminated the Utah Jazz. No one thought that they would get here when they were down 2-0 against Luka and the Mavericks. No one thought that they would be here when they were down 2-0 against the Jazz. And no one thought that they would do this when Kawhi Leonard went down with that ACL injury. But here they are, very first conference finals appearance. And just a huge Game 6 here at home. Number one, Terance Mann, 24 years old, his career high in terms of points for college or the NBA. I almost said high school. We have no idea. So Terance Mann was huge. Paul George had help. Thank goodness for him, because he couldn't have won this game without them. The Jazz were up, I believe, 25 points, and they blew it. In fact, they blew this entire series. Look, you guys want to call, the Clippers and Doc Rivers chokers, and they were chokers last year, blowing a 3-1 lead. But you know what else is a choke? Going up 2-0 against the Clippers and then losing 4 straight games like the Utah Jazz just did and being eliminated, especially those last 2 without Kawhi Leonard. Game 5, without Kawhi, first game without Kawhi, Paul George goes out there, has the game of his career to win Game 5, to steal back home court advantage, to be able to win this thing at home. Then Terance Mann and Reggie Jackson go off in Game 6, and Paul George was good too. Nick Batum was good. Patrick Beverley was good. But the Jazz just absolutely, blew it. In the second half, they had about a 25-point lead after they hit a 3 when the third quarter started, but they left their fight, their hustle, and their defense in the locker room because the Clippers were just making everything, inside and outside. I think that Quinn Snyder should have pulled Rudy Gobert. I think that the defensive player of the year was exposed out on the perimeter. Yes, Game 1, Rudy had that game-winning block. You remember that? It was on Marcus Morris. It was the game-winning block out on the perimeter, and that was great. Don't get me wrong. But really, that was just one moment. That doesn't prove anything. One moment from a guy doesn't, make his skill set or prove his resume. The real Rudy Gobert is what we saw here today in Game 6. And the real Rudy Gobert is a guy that when Reggie Jackson or Terance Mann would drive in the lane, he would draw a double team, and then Reggie Jackson would kick out to a guy on the perimeter, and Rudy Gobert wouldn't go out and guard that guy. So over and over, the Clippers were getting wide open threes, and they were hitting those open threes. Rudy Gobert was exposed. And what Quinn Snyder should have done is bench Rudy Gobert like he did in, I believe it was Game 4, whatever game it was. He should have benched Rudy Gobert because of the wide open shots the Clippers were getting on the perimeter. But he didn't, because that would be really tough. That would be politically incorrect. It would just look really bad. It would be embarrassing if your defensive player of the year, $200 million guy, was on the bench in the fourth quarter of a closeout game. Not only would they have maybe lost the game, but then there would be all sorts of questions in the media after the game if Rudy Gobert was on the bench. I think they shot themselves in the foot, but that's what you get when you sign Rudy Gobert to a $200 million contract. You get this, a guy who can't guard on the perimeter. Rudy Gobert wasn't the only guy to take blame here. I mean, the entire Jazz defense allowed, I believe it was 70-something points in the second half, but at the same time, the Clippers offense the Jazz offense was hurt because Donovan Mitchell was clearly hobbled on his ankle, and Mike Conley was dealing with his injury as well. And so it was at 81. Adi says it was 81 points, yeah. So, look, you kind of feel bad for the Jazz in some way because, their franchise player, Donovan Mitchell, was dealing with the ankle injury. Mike Conley was dealing with his injury, so that sucks. But no one's going to feel bad for the Jazz because everyone's stars are out. The Nets aren't going to feel bad for the Jazz. They got Kyrie Irving out. They got, James Harden, 30% of himself. The Clippers aren't going to feel bad for you. Kawhi's out. The Lakers aren't going to feel bad for you. AD and LeBron are both hurt. So no one's going to feel bad for the Jazz. This is 2021 NBA basketball. All-stars are going to be hurt, and you have to play through it. That's what the Clippers showed today. So I don't want to hear Jazz fans saying things like, that wasn't fair, Donovan Mitchell was hurt, Mike Conley was hurt, our offense wasn't the same. I'm sorry. You don't get to use that excuse this year. We don't feel bad for you. So, right now, we're going to have a Game 7 Brooklyn Bucks. We're going to have a Game 7 Philly Hawks. And we have our Western Conference Finals, and that is the Suns against the Clippers. So when we look, where is Casey Rodman? Let's get to some questions here in a bit. If you guys have a question, please throw up a super chat. That would help a lot, and I will get to your question 100%. So look, real quick, before any questions and we just have this conversation, I want to quickly talk about the Western Conference Finals. So it is going to be the Suns against the Clippers. And, these are two similar teams. And only because they both have, really good shooters. They both are plus on defense. And they're both missing their most important player. Now, obviously, Kawhi is a better player than Chris Paul, but I think Chris Paul's just as important. Now, Chris Paul's got COVID. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Again, don't feel bad for him. He chose not to get the vaccine, I think. How else did he get COVID? I guess he could have gotten the vaccine and still gotten COVID. But right now, it looks like he didn't get it. And if he didn't get it, he let down his teammates and himself. And the Clippers don't have Kawhi Leonard, so we don't know how long Kawhi is going to be out. Now, it's called a knee sprain, an ACL injury. So that means, I believe, a partial tear of the ACL. Could it be a full ACL tear if he chooses to play? I don't know. But I do know that they had, CP3 got vaccinated. Where am I, Jackson? I'm in Hawaii. So, Kawhi maybe can come back. CP3 can maybe come back. Obviously, whoever he did get the vaccine, he got the vaccine, so that sucks that he still got COVID. That's really crappy. That sucks. No, he got the virus. That there was a report that came out that said he did test positive. All right, guys. So basically, that's it. Who's my pick for the Western Conference Finals? It's the Clippers. You guys know that I predicted the Clippers to win the championship, and that the Clippers are going to face the Bucks in the finals. That's my prediction. So we'll see. All right, guys. So this has been a crazy. Who saw that coming? Look, it's a fun NBA playoffs for people like us. People like us are hardcore fans. We are not casual NBA fans. So we're going to be all in no matter what. For the casual fan, they really see the all-star injuries as this ruins the playoffs for them because all they care about is LeBron James and all they care about is, Kyrie Irving and all these big stars. For people like us, we're going to be all in no matter what. And we're going to be into the storylines and we're going to be into the games. And for me, look, no lead is safe in this 2021 NBA playoffs. No lead is safe. 25 points, 26 points, whatever it is. And so the Jazz, we just saw the worst meltdown since the Sixers the other day. And so, it's a fun playoffs, and I'm really loving it so much. All right, guys, so, let's have a conversation here. Throw in a super chat if you feel like being nice, and let's get to it. All right, so when is my Rodman hair coming? To be totally honest, dead honest, the Rodman hair comes as soon as I get back from Hawaii. Which is why I've been going live so much, is because I'm not going to make a video about this because I'm not at home, so I feel like I need to go live. The Rodman hair will come in the NBA Finals. So it's going to be the leopard print finals hair, and that's what we're doing. What do you think about Ben Simmons and his performance in a Game 7? What do I do for a living? I do YouTube for a living. All right, so let's see. What do I think about Ben Simmons? I think that Ben has really killed his... Oh, it's lagging? That sucks. I'm sorry. Ben has really killed his trade value, and the best time for the Sixers to trade Ben Simmons was last offseason. I think that that NBA front offices were already kind of seeing this from Ben Simmons. That's why he didn't get traded at the deadline, was because the Sixers didn't get that giant haul they wanted because NBA front offices knew this about him. And so, his stock has gone down so much. He is 0 for 1, 0 for 0, and 0 for 1 in the last 3 fourth quarters. Ben Simmons is scared of the basketball in the fourth quarter in a big moment. That is bad. Do I like when Joel Embiid gets like technicals and maybe almost gets himself ejected from the game? Like when we saw him get up in John Collins' face today? No, I don't like that. But I prefer that, a guy with passion and a guy who is into the game, than Ben Simmons, who's like too cool for school, doesn't even want to see the basketball in the fourth quarter. I would much rather have Joel Embiid. I think it's crazy that just a few months ago, people were wondering, should you build around Embiid or Simmons? That was a legitimate question a while ago. But now, obviously, it's Joel Embiid. Everyone can see that. That's what I think of Ben. It sucks, man. If I'm the Warriors, I'd try to get Ben Simmons, and I would trade the Minnesota 2021 pick and Andrew Wiggins for Ben Simmons. That's what I would trade. I've seen a lot of Warriors fans say, no way I would trade the pick and Wiggins for Ben Simmons. Warrior fans and every other fan value their own players way too much. People tend to value the guys that are on their team way too high. And the smart front offices don't overvalue their own players. A Wiggins and the pick for a Ben Simmons trade would be smart as hell. Ben Simmons is only 24 years old. He has tons of time to rebound. We would look back in 3 years and think, wow, the Warriors really fleeced the Sixers in that trade. Okay, what else do we got? What other, another trade that they could make? Yes, Jamal Murray, Ben Simmons trade is a trade that they could make. Yes, CJ McCollum for Ben Simmons trade is a trade that they should make. All of these trades are on the table, so look for those. And of course, on AM Hoops, we're going to do a top 5 Ben Simmons trade video soon. All right, guys, what else do y'all have? Not a single super chat today. That's okay. All right, what else do we have? Anything? How do you feel about Chris Middleton so far? Yeah, Middleton's been good. Chris Middleton has been good. Job not finished, as Kobe would say. I know that he dropped, 41 the other day? That's great. I still don't think that he's good enough to be, just a nice super chat there from Dr. Too Breezy. Thanks, buddy. Chris Middleton had a good game. Let's not say that I'm wrong about him not being a championship number 2. Look, he's not a champion. Chris Middleton's not a championship number 2 until they win a championship. You don't just have a good game 6 and have 41 points and all of a sudden you've really proved something. So get out of here. Let's see. If the Bucks lose to the Nets, what do you think is next for them? Well, what's next for the Bucks is firing Mike Budenholzer and hiring Rick Carlisle as their next head coach, and then finally maximizing Giannis's potential. That is the next step for the Bucks. Absolutely. What are the odds of the Bucks winning the finals? I would have to go look that up, Mason, on a odds website, which I'm not going to do right now because we're on live. If the Nets win the East, can the Clippers beat the Nets? No, they can't unless Kawhi Leonard comes back, and that's it. So, no, they can't. Casey, can you do a cartwheel? Yes. Do the Suns have a chance without CP3? Yes, of course they have a chance. I think that the Suns have a chance without Chris Paul because Donovan Mitchell is healthy. DeAndre Ayton is proving that he is a max free agent right now. And they have great role players. Mikal Bridges is an all-defense type player. So, yes, absolutely, the Suns have a great chance against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Now, Adam, with a $2 super chat, that's all it takes, folks, to get a question. So sad. What do the Jazz need to do in the future? That's a good question, Adam, because now the Jazz offseason is here, and we will dive into a full-on Jazz offseason Wednesday soon. But I think that the Jazz their options are tough. So first of all, they have to look at their own free agents. That's the most important thing. And the first top of mind is Mike Conley. They have to re-sign Mike Conley. And beyond that, they just have to get healthy. I think that taking steps is just the best thing for them. They don't have a whole lot to build with because they don't have cap space. What the Jazz could potentially do is trade. That's the only way to really upgrade their roster. And if you're a Jazz fan and you want a big trade, what you have to look at is who are the stars that would truly upgrade our roster that are available. So the stars that are available, if you're a Jazz fan, you say, okay, so who could we get? Because we don't have cap space. We can't buy anybody. So we'd have to trade for someone. So let's see. You've got Ben Simmons. You've got C.J. McCollum. Can you guys throw out some names for me? Who else do we have out there? It depends on what happens here in the postseason. But my point is that, I'm looking your mom, Bradley Beal. Yeah, maybe Bradley Beal. Maybe. And so, dude, my point, Adam, about the Jazz is that with no cap space, you would have to trade to upgrade. So you have to look at who's available, and then you'd have to put a package together. So it's really tough. So beyond significantly upgrading the roster, the best they can hope for is health and continuity. That's it. Miles Turner, that's tough with Rudy Gobert in there, isn't it? So anyway, yeah, Cat. That's it. All right, Jafar says, can the Warriors win the championship? No, they can't. Casey, what are your thoughts on the Kemba Horford trade? So I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I called the Kemba Horford trade last week. I guess, I have to point that out. No one else is going to point it out, so I'll point it out. I called the Kemba Horford trade last week. I said that, yes, Draven, I will make you a mod. And what I mean is that Brad Stevens knew that he had to get rid of Kemba Walker because of his contract and his injury being a liability. So what he did was he paid OKC to take Kemba off his hands, and they got Al Horford back, if you're a Celtics fan, you think this is great. Like, not only did we get Kemba off of our books, but we got Al Horford back, and the hope is that Al can be an upgrade at that center position, with Robert Williams as well, maturing. And yes, they had to get rid of the 16th overall pick to do all this, but I think if I'm a Celtics fan, I think, that's not too big of a price to give up. And the reason is that our last two number 14 overall picks, what did we do with the number 14 pick? We got Aaron Nesmith, and the year before we got Romeo Langford. So for us to give up the number 16 pick, that's not too much to ask. So I'm a fan of what the Celtics did today, or yesterday, or whatever day it was. Okay, so we had a super chat earlier, and it was from Christian. And Christian says, watch the Ice Cube for D-Wade royalties. His new team is whack. Okay, I will watch that. Shout out to you, though, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Salvatore says, here's $5 for you. I think Nicholas Batum has been great. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, here's my question for you, Salvatore. Did you see the Nicholas Batum feature Friday the other day? Hopefully you did. I thought that story was fascinating and inspiring, so hopefully you watched that and you liked it. Do you think the Warriors can win a championship with Clay? You know that I don't think that. I put out a video about that last week. Can you make a Heat all-season video? Yes. Terance Mann, I know. Terance